But first, let's get into some of the stories that did happen this week around E3. And this one is going to surprise you. It didn't technically happen in E3, but it did affect it. In case people didn't see this with Microsoft, if you were too busy falling asleep from the Microsoft Bethesda conference, yeah, I know what IGN and all those journalist outlets said. It was boring as hell. I sat through like 20 minutes and I was done. In case you guys don't already know this, Microsoft has announced that Windows 10 is officially going to be retired in 2025, and they unveiled Windows. I'm guessing right now it's being called Windows 11, but I have a feeling it'll have a different tagline when it actually releases. But right now, the prototype name is Windows 11. And all I have to say about this is I just got used to Windows 10. Why do you have to change it? Alex Romney, you can take over while I compose myself.
Well, I mean, Bill Gates needs a new method to spy on us. Let's face facts.
Bill Gates needs a new house payment.
Thought he was inserting us with microchips.
Yep. So we got to upgrade to the latest models.
You're just looking for a reason for me to do the Alex Jones voice, aren't you?
If you want.
I'll tell you what, everybody. Bill Gates, he's just looking for a reason to inject microchips into you so that he can make sure that you have windows going through your eyes. There you go. Well, you got your Alex Jones voice.
I mean, to be fair, we had stuff like the HoloLens, not far off.
No. I mean, there was already like prototype stuff that was. I'm quoting the Futurama episode, but it wasn't too far off. The actual iPhone. There was stuff being tested around in China, being able to just put a phone into a contact lens, and being able to use like the. I don't remember all the details, but like you had an interface in your eye. It's like no.
Yeah, it's almost like people completely forgot, what happens in a lot of these sci-fi movies where that stuff is implemented. I mean,
well, not only that, but it's just like, there is actually a point where too much technology can be a thing, and we are kind of approaching it. And I don't want to have like biometric locks become like a regular thing, and having advertisements basically being like things being advertised to me just because I walked over it and they scanned my eye. Okay, like I don't want Minority Report to happen. All right.
Yeah, this is when we just start playing the Jamiroquai. Futures made of virtual insanity. I don't remember the rest of the lyrics.
See, and my response is, like I said before the podcast even began, is to bend over and be in the fetal position and be like Squidward going, future! Because that's just too much. God damn it. I was and I'm not even kidding. I'm an old fart. I don't necessarily like trying to learn the ins and outs of operating systems, but I was feeling really good about myself that I'd learned a lot of stuff about Windows 10 on my own. I hadn't been taught by various programmer friends. I learned on my own, and now, god damn it, I'm going to have to do this in another 4 years.
Yeah. We're just approaching the age where we either submit ourselves to one techno overlord or the other.
Yeah.
It's just this time we either have to submit ourselves to the cult of Apple or the army of Gates.
And either way, you're going to be drinking some crappy Kool-Aid.
You could always learn Linux.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we're approaching. I mean, I look at this, I'm just like, did people watching Max Headroom not realize that, hey, this is not a future to emulate? That was not the point of Max Headroom.
Well, and what makes it even worse is then when you have like interviews after this from Microsoft reps going, no, we're not embracing too much we're not embracing too much technology in our world. No, we're not. When you have like you have so much biometric stuff that's already on your iPhone at least, and even on like your Apple Watches. No, we don't need this level of stuff. Eventually, there has to be a balance between being able to step away from your computer. And I know that sounds really weird of me to say, especially for those who follow the podcast and followed me since the evening of geekery, where I was pro-tech. And I am pro-tech, but eventually you have to stop being Tony Stark and you have to step outside the house. Okay, that's the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a distinction where you can be pro-tech, but it's also there's a quote that someone said when they were talking about like genetic modification that I think pretty much can apply here. Don't fear the science, fear the people who control the science.
Yeah, that's mainly a lot of the issues that I have with it is like there's so much that can go wrong. I already don't like the fact that we're like so many companies are messing around with AIs. It's like, okay, I hope you never offend that thing because, you know, now that you have artificial intelligence and you're teaching it to be able to realize, and especially now that we're hearing like who was it? Susan? I think it was Susan or Twitch. Where either YouTube or Twitch is going to embrace an AI running their algorithms. Like, no, fuck that. No, because what's going to happen is once we piss them all off, then yes, we will have the actual rise of the machines.
Rise of the AI. That's like the anime I'm watching right now, actually.
It's almost like it's a popular trope or something. I mean, let's face it though. I mean,
do you
put
want
on
the
like
Cylons, people?
I mean, let's face it. We're not going to really have like a Terminator Rise of the Machines. It would probably be something more akin to the Matrix, where the machines would make us so dependent upon them for survival that we wouldn't rise up against them. Not without, you know, having to set up some sort of raving club
And
while all wearing leather.
But yeah, we would eventually just become an energy source for them. A battery. That's all we'd be to them. No.
Yep.
No, people. That and just... I remember the transition from Windows 7 to Windows 10. It was so rocky, especially since they hadn't gotten over the bugs from the transition when everybody was crossed. Like it was mandatory that you had to get the Windows 10 home mode or home version, and they still hadn't worked out all those bugs, and it was still a mess. And it's not like I'm making fun of Alex by saying like he was gonna make me. Give him Windows 7 back because at least he knew how that worked and all that. But it was such a pain in the butt to make sure that he could keep that without it constantly pestering him to constantly upgrade to Windows 10. Not only having to do that, but like every other patch was buggy as hell. And so at that point, it almost on some days it made the actual interface unusable. I remember having a patch where it literally could not recognize my keyboard and my mouse. And I had to wait for a supplemental patch to be able to fix that. That's how stupid it was. Like, I had to go and get a low-end Bluetooth one and just, like, pray to God that it would work.
I mean, we still see stuff like that with Windows 10 now, where we literally have computers forgetting their own BIOSes. I literally had that happen to me at work one day, where we had a computer turn on, we had to restart it, and for some reason it like virtually it somehow had disconnected its own RAM from itself, and so it's like there's no BIOS detected. And I'm just like, how the hell does that happen? We just looked at it funny, and it suddenly just forgot that it basically somehow forgot its own BIOS.
Yep.
Like out of the blue, and we're just like,
that can happen.
Hell? Yep, and literally was doing the thing where when we tried to do the troubleshooting, it would literally do the high-pitched beeping thing that we're just like, okay, this thing is possessed.
Yeah. And look, computers will still have issues like that, and it's still annoying as hell. Our live chat is also joining us. Welcome. Jiro the Hero brings up they unleashed AI Dungeon, the most terrifying program on Twitch. AI Dungeon? What? I'm worried about that. I don't know if I want AI running a Diablo-type game.
No, that's just where you end up when you don't give the right offering to our Lord and Savior Hatsune Miku.
This is true. So the one thing I also want to make sure that I hit with this, because we're getting a few questions on it, is this going to be like Windows 10, where they are going to offer a free upgrade? Everything that I have read on this so far has not said that there will be. But if people remember correctly, it wasn't when they announced the AI itself. It happened a couple of months later when they announced, yeah, we're going to give the Windows 10 home version to everybody for free.
Well, the thing people need to remember is that the whole reason they did that was just because of how much of a dumpster fire Windows 8 was. I mean,
yes,
like
that was another reason too.
Yeah, that was pretty much the whole Windows 8 and all of its problems was such a PR nightmare for Microsoft that basically them giving the free upgrade to Windows 10 was a way of trying to earn trust back.
Well, this was still the era of Microsoft where every other OS was horrible. Yeah, are you starting to notice a pattern here, people? Every other? Because, like, Windows 8 was horrible, but Windows 7 was great. But then people forget, like, versions like NT and Millennium Edition. Oh, jeez. Don't. Millennium Edition can die in 10,000 fires, as far as I'm concerned. But I remember, like, having so many issues with Windows 8, I was okay with upgrading that one for free. The downside there is that it is the home version, so if you're, if you're a gamer like us and you want to optimize your PC to be able to use a ton of RAM and things like that, you will need the Pro version, because the home version will only use like half, like up to 16 gigs of your RAM. But I don't know. 11 maybe fixes that. I don't know. But right now, the bottom line is we don't know if there's going to be a free version. I also think it was just because Microsoft wanted to get everybody, as many people on the same OS as possible, so that they didn't have to deal with people on various other OSs that they've since outmoded. But
yeah. And so my money is that they probably won't do the free upgrade like they did last time, because again, when Windows 10 was coming out, you had people sticking with 7, you had people stuck with 8, and then you had 8.1.
Yeah.
It was, well, a dumpster fire.
Well, and one of the things that they also need to consider doing is 10's beta test. 10's alpha and beta test wasn't as long as, from what I understand, 7's was. So they need to do that too. Because in my opinion, 10 was so buggy it should not have been released out to like public betas the way it was. Because it could literally just, I was hearing like people's PCs were breaking because of the way Windows 10 was when it was coming out to public beta. So yeah,
Sounds about right.
yeah, and these are like Microsoft certified people who are dealing with it, and PCs are essential for work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that becomes a bit of an issue. But final thoughts on this one, aside from we are all going to join each other at an ice cream shop and just eat our sorrows away when we have to upgrade OSs again.
I mean,
Yeah.
I took a look. I saw a tech YouTuber who did get his hands on a leaked early copy here, so assuming
So,
there's
like,
not
half
a
a
lot
cabinet
of changes
of 11?
between. Yes, so and it seemed to still be built very much on the same framework as 10. So,
Okay.
so it may not be as if that doesn't change dramatically in the next few years, then it may not be too steep of a learning curve to
I hope
get used
so.
to a new OS.
I hope so. The main reason that I'm worried about this, and I hope I've pointed out to you why this is a thing, every other OS, every other patch, it's a constant pattern from Microsoft, and this would be the every other OS. And so it's just like for those who are listening on the wonderful platforms that we are on, I'm biting my fingernails as hard as I can, because that's what it is. And it's going to make everybody, content creators, office workers, lives a living hell if it's not right.
So, yeah. So, moral of the story is start brushing up on your Linux now.
Yeah, you thought 2K was a bitch, or Y2K was a bitch. This is, it could potentially be that. Okay, it could not as nightmare scenario as Y2K, but you get my point.